Go, 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 go.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires.
Still there, inside.
What a jump! What a jump!
The track is wet. It's good.
Still there, clear.
3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Forward Field Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Capilupo, joined by Steve Ray, Sam Dooley, and Wesley Riddle. We're here for a Phoenix preview pod. We are really the 2026 Straight Talk Wireless 500 preview pod. See, I said it right the first time. Didn't sound all stumbly and mumbly and like I had a stroke. So I think we're already off to a better start with this preview pod than last time, Steve.
I'm very proud of you. I would love to give you a round of applause right now for nailing that. Phoenix, we're back. Feels like, we're just here in November watching the final race of the season for the championship, watching Kyle Larson take home the Cup Series championship, and now we're already back. Probably not the most exciting, exuberant race on the schedule, but it's a nice market. You know, the Southwest US does have a loyal fan base and has been showing up to Phoenix since the Cup Series ran there in the late 80s. I always get a kick out of every time that they go to Phoenix. You know, the comment made by Jamie McMurray a couple of years ago that there hasn't been a good race at Phoenix since 1989. That's what I think about when I watch Phoenix. But I've been enjoying watching the highlights that you guys have been putting out on our social media the last couple of days, watching the 2007 race of Jeff Gordon. That was a very special moment, tying Dale Earnhardt with in wins. There was 76 wins. Just a few years after that, him snapping the long winless drought at Phoenix, beating Kyle Busch that day. So there are some good memories from there, but lately with the next gen car, I wouldn't say that this is the most thrilling race by any means.
Well, someone that seems to have this track pretty well figured out is Joey Logano. He's got 4 wins there, leads all the active drivers. Sam, and you think number 5 is a possibility this weekend?
I'll be shocked if it does happen. Not shocked. I shouldn't say shocked. I'll be surprised if it does happen, because we've seen both of the Penske cars haven't been as good in the spring as they have been in the fall. Now, how much of that is because of the old playoff format and kind of keeping things in your bag for when you're going to need them at the end, and how much of it is just the differing track conditions between Phoenix in March, when it may be a little warmer, I think, than Phoenix in November, when I believe it's cooler. I mean, it's still the desert, so it's not like it's going to vary that much, but it just depends on track conditions and things of that nature. Obviously, like you said, he's the active leader and wins there. It's a good track for him. I would be shocked if he did win, but I would be surprised because it just seems like the trend so far has been the Penske guys have been good in the fall and not as good in the spring, which for Austin Cindric, who we mentioned in our previous episode this week, the Kona recap, that doesn't bode well for him because his season's not looking very good. But yeah, for Joey, it wouldn't shock me, but it would surprise me if he came out and won.
You bring up an interesting point there that really no one's really talked about is Logano that Penske team was able to have that trick up their sleeve for Phoenix when they're in the championship 4, especially when Logano makes it, because he would win that first race in that round and then they'd spend multiple weeks just on that Phoenix car. Later this season, like, you're not gonna be able to do that. Every race matters. So that actually makes the race to the championship even more interesting, is knowing that a team can't get a head start prepping a Homestead car as opposed to, you still have to focus on Martinsville and Phoenix the weeks before that. So that makes things even more interesting and actually gets me a little more excited because I never thought about it like that. And if you go back to Phoenix this past season, Wes, in the fall, they came with a new tire, and it seemed to a lot of teams were kind of fooled by it, and we had a lot of tire failures. And now you add the 750 horsepower, package. Do you think we'll see more issues with like the tires and going out?
I think some of it'll be present, but I don't feel like it'll be as much. It was so extreme, I think, just because the teams were trying to push, the last race of the season, just try to get everything out of the year there to kind of wrap up 2025. So, you saw James Small, right? I feel like he was the biggest guy that kept just busting up that tire pressure on the right side. And every time Chase Briscoe went out, he would get a flat tire, even though, he had the speed to, not really, they didn't need it that strong every single run. So I think it'll still be prevalent, but it's not going to be as significant. But then you do make a good point with the raised horsepower. How could that kind of, increase the chance of a tire blow? I feel like, it could play a little bit of a factor. Um, I feel like turn one, just with the dog leg, that's always a risky spot. And if we do see some tire blows, there could be some really bad impacts. So we'll have to see how the race plays out. But I feel like Goodyear's taken some really good steps in the last couple of years just to make a good tire. One that's more beneficial. A lot of the tire failures have not been Goodyear's fault. They've been just the teams just trying stuff and pushing it too far. So I think it'll be a good race and hopefully less carnage from what the championship race was.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what decided the championship was teams going aggressive on those tire pressures and led to the 24 kind of blowing a tire with 3 to go and sent us into overtime there. So this will be the 57th Cup race at Phoenix. They first debuted in 1988. Christopher Bell is the guy that's won the last 2 spring Phoenix races here. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin will both start their 42nd race at Phoenix, tying Kevin Harvick for the most starts there all time. And I said before, Joey Logano leads all active drivers with 4 wins. And one thing to talk about too here before we get too far into this is the IndyCar Series is going to be racing this weekend, making it a doubleheader with, Cup this weekend instead of just the trucks in St. Pete, which will be very interesting, I'd say, guys.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was great for St. Pete. They're kicking off the IndyCar season. The trucks put on a great show there. It was great to see that. But now going to Phoenix, IndyCar's return to Phoenix, awesome. But then you pair it up with NASCAR's premier series, the Cup Series. This is just a win all around, not only for IndyCar and for NASCAR. This is just a win for motorsports in general. When you can get IndyCar fans that might not pay much attention, if they can see NASCAR and vice versa, bring NASCAR fans over to IndyCar, it's healthy. It's good for motorsports in general. I think doing companion weekends like this, they should explore, not go overkill. They don't need to match and mirror schedules identically. But having a few companion races like this would be phenomenal. The one that comes off the top of my head that would be great for NASCAR and IndyCar would be Road America. I wish they would bring that back, but certainly bringing IndyCar back to Phoenix at the Oval and then pairing it up, I think it's just a win-win for everybody involved.
One thing that's just a bummer, and not to be the Debbie Downer, but I hate this time of year for the Truck Series because we had such a great high with St. Pete. And now we're off for 2 weeks. We come back for 1 week, and then we're off for another week, and then we come back. And so there's 2 races in like the next 5 weeks, which I think, the scheduling, it's tough because you want to plan Daytona for having trucks and the season finale for having the race at Homestead. And so that way it's, a great start and a great end with all 3 series. But that's such a just disappointment for the Truck Series to get all that hype build, to have some of the star power that we've had the first 3 weeks. And then where does it go? right? I mean, it was probably mentioned one time. I didn't watch a majority of the truck race. I don't know how many times they said it, but how they probably went off air and maybe said it one time in the last 10 seconds of the broadcast. We'll see you in 3 weeks, and it's like just leaves new fans kind of hanging. So, but I do think St. Pete was a win. I think that'll definitely need to be back for next year. It was a really good weekend paired with IndyCar, and I just hope that somehow the schedule can be fixed for in the future to kind of make the continuity flow a little bit better.
Yeah, those trucks. I'm looking at the schedule right now. There's 5 races in May, then only 2 in June. You get 3 in July, then you only get 2 in August, 2 in September. And I mean, yeah, there's just no flow to the season. I mean, 5 races in one month, and then you got 2 races in like 3 other months. And it's tough, I guess, with the amount of races on their schedule. But I feel like there could be a better way to kind of spread everything out to where it's got a constant flow, like you said, Wes, as opposed to, yeah, we got this momentum now, 3 races where the truck series is all like at the highest it's been in probably over a decade, ratings wise and just, the general hype around it. And now people are gonna forget about it here the next couple weeks. But exciting for O'Reilly as well. You're gonna have IndyCar on Saturday at 3 o'clock, and then the O'Reilly Series follows them at 7:30, giving us, just back-to-back races on Saturday, which should hopefully draw eyes with how well the CW is doing, getting over 1 million viewers for the O'Reilly Series, which is big, and I mean that broadcast definitely helping the numbers there. But hopefully we get some IndyCar fans that kind of stay to watch that O'Reilly race, and then stay for Sunday to watch the Cup race as well.
I'm hoping that there's some, not direct advertisement. Like, I don't expect Fox to, like, straight up make a graphic and say, uh, O'Reilly series on the CW after this. But I'm hoping that there's some mentions, there's graphics that have the logo of the CW on there so that people can find their way and mosey on over there after they're done watching the IndyCar race. Because I think that's good. My biggest thing with these doubleheader weekends, I think it's a great idea because America's two premier motorsports leagues are better when they're working together, and they've got this huge opportunity now because of Fox doing everything for IndyCar and Fox having the whole start of the Cup Series schedule on Fox. They have this unique ability to be able to do things like this where you get double headers. And I think that NASCAR and IndyCar are always going to be better when they work together and they're not looking at each other like rivals because it's two completely different styles of motorsports. Um, like from the outside looking in, it may look, they're both racing and they're both American, but that's pretty much where the parallels stop. The cars are obviously completely different. The tracks are completely different. One's majority road course in IndyCar and one's majority ovals. But when you can get them to come together, it's really awesome. And I'm a huge fan. I'm big on these double headers. Um, like you were talking about, don't do them all the time, don't overdo it. But like when you can throw a couple in there, because there's inevitably some IndyCar fans that aren't NASCAR fans, and there's some NASCAR fans that aren't IndyCar fans. Not that they probably haven't heard of each other, but they haven't given it a shot. And when you go from watching your motorsport on a certain track, like take St. Pete last week for example, you go from watching IndyCar qualifying to then truck race will be on in 30 minutes. I like watching IndyCar at St. Pete. Let's see what the trucks look like, and then they put on a good show, and then you're like, man, I may want to watch that. And look at that, next week you get more NASCAR at the same track as IndyCar, and you don't even really have to flip the dial that much. So it's I'm really big on IndyCar and NASCAR being in the same place, at least a few times a year. Just because the more together, the less that IndyCar and NASCAR look at each other like competitors, the better motorsports in America overall will be.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I wish they would have had is tried to work out where someone either in NASCAR runs the IndyCar race as well, or someone in IndyCar ran either the O'Reilly race or the Cup race, because then you really draw the fans of, say, that driver to watch both races as well. But maybe something to work towards in the future. But still, an exciting weekend as it is. Getting three like top level races at Phoenix is probably just what the doctor ordered for Phoenix, especially after losing the championship race at that track. Now, we'll jump into some segments here. Let's go into Wes's Wayback moment.
Yeah, for me, I feel like one I would have done would have been 2007, just to kind of highlight Jeff Gordon. Getting tying Dale Earnhardt for the win total that he got. But I'm gonna actually go to 2011 and pick that Jeff Gordon win. 2011 was a pretty cool race from what I remember. I think it was Trevor Bayne's like second or third start, and it came right after the week after he won the Daytona 500. So there was so much hype behind him. I remember in that race that people were, all the talk was about Trevor Bayne. Like it was unreal then, and turned out he wrecked within like the first 40 laps. He was caught up in a wreck and then taken out of the race and finished somewhere in the 40s. So it was a disappointment, kind of his early tenure there with the Wood brothers. There was the massive wreck that happened on the backstretch. And one thing that's cool about this wreck, I mean, this is the last time that Phoenix ran with grass, right? The backstretch was filled with grass, and then they did the remodel sometime there during the 2011 season. So if you go back and watch that big wreck, I mean, that's kind of the last kind of key moment that happens in that, on that backstretch, which ultimately became the front stretch, and is the front stretch still today. So it's just kind of cool to go back and see the greenery that surrounded the inside of the racetrack versus the outside of the racetrack, which is just the desert of Phoenix. So a pretty cool contrast there. But the big wreck took out a lot of big contenders and even some guys running in the back of the field. Uh, I remember specifically there being one of, I feel like, the most underrated vicious wrecks of the 21st century, where David Reagan, I don't know what happened. I think he blew a tire in turn two, which is now turn four, or well, other way around, was turn four at one point, now turn two. Uh, and he hit the wall so hard. It was at such a vicious angle that it's one of those wrecks where if you go back and watch and like just kind of soak it in, you're going to understand how horrific of a wreck that was and how bad it could have been pre Hans device, pre safety features. It was awful. But then of course Jeff Gordon and Kyle Busch, they duked it out there at the end. Kyle Busch at one point got put in the wall by Kevin Harvick, kind of fought through the field, was able to contend. They were the two dominant horses that day. Kyle Busch had the lead late and ran away with it after a late caution, and the pit cycle put Kyle ahead of Jeff Gordon. But Gordon was able to rally back, do a classic bump and run, and was able to go on and win after a dismal 2010 season. One that was just unfortunate, not because he wasn't he didn't get any wins. He had the speed. It's just everything didn't go his way. So 2010 was heartbreaking as a Jeff Gordon fan. 2011 Daytona 500 was heartbreaking, and then just seeing him come back in that fashion was surreal. So I'm gonna take the 2011 Phoenix race.
I mean, Jeff Gordon was in that big wreck you were talking about. He was in the wall in turn three. You could see this, the scrape on the side of the car because Carl Edwards, I guess, had no steering, no brakes, and just, I mean, Gordon had nowhere to go. So he was kind of in the wreck, not directly, but kind of going into turn three. Once you got through the big wreck, Gordon got swept up into the wall with Carl Edwards and suffered some pretty good damage, but either it helped or didn't do enough to stop that drive that day, which was, yeah, I remember being so excited as we were all Gordon fans, and that was one of the more exciting ones because it was just like finally we're not going to go through this 2010 deal where Gordon has the fastest car and Steve Letarte puts two tires on the car when it should have been four. He'll get caught up in this massive wreck on a restart at Texas when he's got the fastest car, and just so many chances that season to win, and yeah, it just never came to fruition. But that's what made, I guess, that win that much sweeter to break his longest winless streak.
Yeah, what I remember most about that race, on top of Gordon going on to win, was just how dismal the year before was. I mean, not from a performance standpoint, they were one of if not the top team that season. And you look at 2009, won Texas, and I thought, great off to start, great start. That ended up being his only win of 09. You go into 2010, I mean, was on rails at Vegas and should have won that race before Steve Letarte came in and put two tires on it, and then should have won out and won Texas. Should have, was right there in contention, finished second to Ryan Newman at Phoenix. Should have won Richmond. I mean, there's so many woulda, coulda, shouldas that then you go into 2011 and Phoenix has moved all the way up to the second race of the season. And for Gordon to go out and duke it out with Kyle Busch, arguably in his prime at that time, and outduel him was great. And then went on to win two more races in 2011, and overall it was just a big success.
Absolutely. So, Steve, while we're still with you, all right, Steve, stump the field this week.
All right, trivia time. Our current standings right now, Dom has won all 3 weeks. Let's see
Call
if
me
one of
Tyler Reddick.
That's right. See if Dom can make it 4 in a row here. If Sam or Wes is gonna claim their first win. Bear with me through this. I might have to mute myself for a second. I'm battling some sickness, so I might have to step out to cough because nobody wants to hear that. Our question this week, though, comes from friend Dylan, the guy who predicted that Daniel Suarez is going to win multiple races. But he sent me a message the other day, had a good topic to bring up this week. So obviously we highlighted it that the Cup Series has raced at Phoenix since 1988, and there have been 3 drivers that have claimed their first career Cup Series win at Phoenix. We're gonna go around, take a guess. First person to get 2 correct is going to be our winner this week. So we will start with Wes and then go to Sam and then to Dom.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is good. This is not, I don't know about this. First career win at Phoenix.
First
And
career
there's
win
only
at Phoenix.
3.
And there's 3 drivers that have done it.
Oh gosh. I couldn't even know where to begin. No. First driver I thought of, I know he didn't win his first race there. I'm trying to go back just to like
Oh
I
my
don't even
God.
know who's won at Phoenix aside from Jeff Gordon. Oh golly. I'll just say, gosh, it's not him.
Hold on.
It's
Before
not
you
him.
guess, I'll give you guys some context. We have one winner that was, I'll say, very recent. And then we're talking the other 2, we're digging back into the 80s and 90s era.
Okay, well,
So L in the chat for Sam on those 2. But
I think
My dad's gonna be pissed. He knows both.
he's
of them. I
already
know it.
screaming.
He is already screaming. He's already
Yeah.
screaming the answers.
I think I can
I'm
do the
just-
recent one though.
I can't even think of the recent one, dude. Like,
Yeah, I got the recent one, but
I think I
Wes
got
will get
yeah.
into
my
it.
mind's blank.
I was like, yeah. I got now that you say that, I know the recent one. That's Chase Briscoe.
Chase Briscoe, first career win, came 2022 with Stuart Haas Racing. Led 101 laps that day. Ryan Blaney finished 4th. He led the most that day with 143 laps. What I remember most about this race is that I felt like that this was going to be the floodgates opening up for Chase Briscoe. He gets, we were, just a handful of races into the new next gen car. He goes out, leads over 100 laps in this race after kind of a real up and down rookie season in 2021. And then really after this, just nothing really materialized that much after this. So the floodgates really didn't open up for Briscoe, obviously, until last year he went to Joe Gibbs. But yes, Chase Briscoe in 2022 did get his first career win at Phoenix.
Yeah, see, I couldn't even think of that one. I remember that race now that you're talking about it, and I do remember, kind of like you, I less floodgates for him and more. I was like, oh wow, this new next gen car really must be anybody can win because the Stuart Haas car just won. Uh, Stuart Haas rookie at that, but yeah, that was a good race. So the rest, the other two are olds, is what you're saying.
The other two are olds. For your dad, I will say that it is not Rusty Wallace. I
Not
know that he
Rusty.
texted you that he was screaming Rusty Wallace. Rusty Wallace did not get his first win at Phoenix.
Okay. Were they rookies? Could you tell me that? Were they both rookies whenever it
Let me
happened?
see.
Was it just guys that like happened to stumble upon their first win in like a couple years in a cup?
Of course, my Wi-Fi decides to not. Oh, here we go. No, I'll say it was his second full-time season.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't help me.
Yeah, we're
I'm just gonna have
talking.
to start throwing olds out there.
We're talking the inaugural race at Phoenix. So the first one from 1988, and then our other one is coming from 1996.
1996 is one of them.
Yeah.
Who could I do in '96? Shoot, no, I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna try and shoot for either of them. If I'm being honest, I'm just gonna. For some reason, his name's in my head. Alan Kowicki.
Oh my God! Give this man a cookie.
Was
That
the
was my
88
guess.
one? 88
Oh,
one?
that was my guess.
The
I don't know why
Underdog.
that shit popped into my head. Wow. Okay.
Give a round of applause. You just got a driver before 2000, Sam.
He took that one right from me.
Yep.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yep.
That
The
popped
under.
in my head. I think I've either watched that race or listened to that with classic races on MRN or something.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't.
Driving the number 7 Xerox car that he owned himself, led 41 laps that day. Had to battle guys like Rusty Wallace. Terry Labonte finished second. Davey Allison third. God rest his soul. Sterling Marlin was up there. Ricky Rudd led 183 laps before his Quaker State Buick engine checked out on the field. So yes, 1988, the inaugural Cup Series race at Phoenix, won by the Underbird himself, Alan Kowicki.
1996.
And that leaves us with probably one of the most, like, you think Cup Series winners, and you think Cup Series winners at Phoenix. This guy, I certainly, before Dylan sent me this question, and like when I was actually doing the research on it, I had to double check and make sure this is actually correct. Just not quite a guy that you would think of on a day-to-day basis.
Jeez. I'll go Ricky Craven.
Ricky Craven did not. Actually, in this race that we're referencing here, he was driving the 41 Kodak car. He was in the race, finished 34th in the race. So
Not quite.
not quite the win. So we're going to flip it back over to Wes, see if you can bring home your first trivia win of the year.
I can't remember if there were two races in 96, but I know. Okay, so I have, and I watched it probably 30, 40 times as a kid. I have NASCAR 1996, like the year in review on VHS, and I've seen that so many times. And there's one person I can remember crossing that checkered flag that I think finished 8th or 10th or somewhere right around there in points. I don't know. Or no, maybe 12th. Maybe 12th. And he is no longer with us. He is one of the best, I think one of the most underrated drivers ever of our time. And he sure enough drove for Richard Petty. That would be Bobby Hamilton.
Bobby Hamilton Sr. Yes.
If you didn't
Was
say the year, I would not have guessed him.
yeah,
But when you said 96, I was like, I know 96. I know my
yeah.
96.
I figured when there were a lot of blank stares, like let's provide some context. Yeah, certainly not somebody that I would have thought of to get a first win at Phoenix, but yeah, you are absolutely right, Wes, and take home the win in trivia this week.
12th in
But
points,
let me double check that there.
10th or
Um,
12th.
96
He
finished
had a good year in 96.
ninth.
Right.
No, ninth
Yeah.
in points. Driving for the King, driving the STP Pontiac, led 40 laps, battling Mark Martin and Terry Labonte. Ted Musgrave up there in a Roush car. So that was pretty cool to see. But yes, Bobby Hamilton driving that STP car for the King, getting his first career win at Phoenix. So, Wes, on the board, your first trivia win of the season.
I gotta say, I got the hard one, so I'm proud of myself for that at least.
He
To be
said,
fair, I would say Bobby Hamilton is
Okay, Bobby
way
Hamilton.
harder.
Okay, he's hard. Pause. That is a difficult answer to come by, but we're all young, and that's an old answer. And I'm nope. You can't say anything. I'm right. I got the hard one.
that. I mean, I saw when Steve said 96, I saw Wes's eyes light up, and I was like, yeah, we're in trouble.
You could have given me 20 answers. I wouldn't have gotten there. There was no way I was getting there.
96 was just the year of Labonte and Gordon. Gordon won 10 times or however many. And then, yeah, Dale Jarrett got hurt at Pocono. I think he like hurt himself at Pocono. Like I remember some racetrack in the year in review. I don't know. Indy. I don't know. I don't remember.
Wow. Well, that was a great question there from Dylan, and finally stumped me out. I don't know if that was the goal, but
That was my goal with it. Is that if you're going to send me a question, just make sure that you're not sending the answers over to Dom.
I'll have to try to find that out next time. Try to get back on the board. But that takes us into our underdogs of the week. And this week, when you talk about Phoenix, no one really, I picked him in our race picks in the fall, but Josh Berry. And everyone clowned me for picking him, and he ran top 10 all day, finished top 10 in the fall. He has 5 career starts at Phoenix in the Cup Series. He has an average finish of 14.2. He has a top 5 and 3 top 10s. He hasn't led a lap there yet, but who knows? We could see what happens this weekend, and he's another one that kind of, if he can get the ship righted this week, would be huge for Josh Berry and trying to get himself, up there again, because he's currently sitting 28th in points, not where he wants to be. And that Wood Brothers team, they're going to have to get going here pretty quickly, or they'll be pretty much out of chase talk.
Yeah, my underdog this week, I believe he is driving the Lucky Dog car, if I do remember myself here. He is. We've talked about him a few times. He's been kind of our underdog of the season so far. Zane Smith in the 38 car. Obviously had really good results at Daytona and Atlanta and was in a better spot than where he finished at Coda. But if he can go out and, try to capture some stage points, put together a solid result, certainly help where he's at in points, at least maintain where he's at, I think that would be a solid result for that front row team. And obviously Zane, so far, the first 3 races of the season, I think has been outperforming the expectations of where we kind of had front row at the start of the year. So my underdog of the week for Phoenix is going to be Zane Smith.
Did we establish if we have to have different underdogs of the week? Because I was going Zane Smith too.
You guys are bold for picking Zane Smith.
Okay. I'll go different. I mean, they're all bold. It's called the underdog of the week. I gotta pivot then though.
I mean, you were bold last year for going Josh Berry.
Yeah, well, you're.
It's not that bold when he's got the 11th highest average finish.
We're gonna go. I don't know. I'm literally just looking at the finishing from spring last year. I'm going to go John Hunter Nemechek because Legacy kind of needs to get the ship righted. And I feel like John Hunter, he finished 14th in the spring last year. I do like Steve's pick of Zane Smith, obviously, and that was where I was going until he picked him. But I think that John Hunter can pull it out and have a pretty good finish.
And I'm gonna take Ryan Preece. I don't think his numbers show, but just his short track ability and his ability, I feel like just with these tighter turn tracks and just the flat track nature of Phoenix, I think that's going to benefit his driving style. With how good he is at like a track like New Hampshire, I feel like he's continuing to evolve and improve. I feel like he can show up really good here. I mean, Chris Buescher shows up. Brad Keselowski's former winner here, and it seems like RFK's, you know, I I do believe that they're going to be better than they were last year. I still feel confident in that, even though the results don't fully show yet, but they're all kind of comfortably in the top 16 right now. So I'll take Ron Brees.
All right, just a quick recap. Our underdog drivers. I'm going with Josh Berry. Steve's got Zane Smith. Sam's got John Hunter Nemechek, and Wes with Ryan Preece. Now takes us over to fantasy and monster weeks from Wes and Sam. Wes with now the all-time high for a week with 110 points. Sam not far behind with 109 points. And then we have myself, who got 79 points, somehow getting ahead of Steve, who now has officially the worst week in fantasy with 33 points. So the standings, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Sam still has a commanding lead with 275 points, Wes with 236 points, 39 points back. And then myself sitting 97 points back with 178, and Steve 102 back with 173 points. And this week, Steve from the basement, you're going to kick us off here in the fantasy draft.
You know, I took the most authentic Alex Bowman experience from Coda. Bottom of the point standings. I just wanted to join him down there. So that's all right. There is, excuse me, there is no other way but up from here. And I was kind of kicking myself last week, but you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm going to pull the trigger, and I haven't picked him yet. But what the hell? Just go for broke, and I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick. No hotter driver in NASCAR right now than Reddick himself.
The trends say that's a very good pick because right now, I haven't mentioned it all podcast. I've been saying this as a joke to some of my friends. Tyler Reddick is on pace for a 36-0 season right now. And no one has stopped him yet. So you might as well pick the hottest driver in NASCAR. With my number 2 pick, I'm going to go with what I thought would have been number 1, but I'm going to go Christopher Bell.
It's a very solid pick. I got to roll with Ryan Blaney. I mean, I think he's going to have the chance to be the fastest car. Finally got his first win there in the fall. And I think he's going to be a lock for a top 5 at the very least.
Wes, you are on a mute there.
Sorry, guys.
There we go.
I'm taking Kyle Larson. He won the last race. They show up with Hendrick Motorsports better in the spring than they do the fall, and it's kind of a yearly thing. So I think they'll contend with Gibbs and be up there in the mix. So give me Larson, and that'll circle back to me. So I get the next pick. I'm going to. Ooh, it's gonna be tricky. There's a few different guys. I'm gonna go. I guess I'll stay strong. I'll try to block him out, but I'll take. I don't know if I can. I took him last week. I was gonna take Byron, but I took him last week. So, give me Chris Buescher. He's had roll. Quite a few top 5s, top 10s in the next gen. He's consistent.
All right, I'm gonna roll with William Byron. Yeah, I'm Byron. If he didn't blow that tire, he was second to Hamlin the whole race in the fall.
That comes back to me. I was actually going to pick Busher because he's a sneaky, really good pick. He's got an average finish of 8th, which is 4th best in the next gen era through 6 races. So, yeah, I'll go. Who did I pick last week? So I can't go Larson. I'll go. I'll take Blaney.
But he's already taken.
Oh, he's already taken? Oh, yeah. I didn't look at that. So then I'll go. Let's double check and make sure. Okay, I'll go Hamlin then. I had to double check and make sure he wasn't taken, too. I don't know how to read, guys. I'm from Alabama. You don't expect it.
All right, well, I got to pivot because I was waiting for you to pick somebody other than Hamlin. I'll take his teammate. We brought him up in a trivia. Got his first career win. I'll take Chase Briscoe. And then circling back around for my final pick here. Let's see. We'll roll the dice. Give me Joey Logano.
I'm going to go Ross Chastain with my 3rd pick.
I guess we're gonna roll with. I mean, this guy is just quiet. He's consistent. He'll put up points on the board. We'll go Chase Elliott.
And back to me. I'll take. I don't know. Kind of feel like everybody named is going to be the top 10. It just seems. Yeah, it's kind of hard to pick down here in the waters. I'll
Riley Herbst is on the board.
yeah, I don't know.
He's a win. He won there. He's a winner there.
I would rather go with just going with 2 picks than 2 picks plus Riley Herbst.
Yeah. Give me. I guess I'm gonna try to go with a guy that can just be consistent. I'll take. Oh man. I'm really indecisive on this. I'll try to risk it. Give me Ty Gibbs. Maybe Ty hits. Ty's either gonna hit it or he's gonna miss it completely. So I think if he hits it, he'll be big score.
Yep, that's who I was going back and forth when I picked Logano. It was between him and Gibbs, but it is going to be boom or bust for the 54 this week.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago he started second, finished 3rd, led 57 laps, finished second in the first stage. So I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, it hasn't been too pretty since then, but hey, maybe that momentum from Coda could work out for him. Now, you had our fantasy picks. We'll send it over to Anthony, who's back this week with his betting segment, Making Money with Marchesi.
Sup, guys? Anthony here, back with another weekend pick selection for the DraftKings betting odds. And this week, we're going to do something a little, I don't want to say easier, but like more likely. Daytona, Atlanta, Coda. 3 races, you can go out on a limb. Coda was not close, but mid-race it looked close. Atlanta was the closest at the finish, and then Daytona was just awful. That was a really bad bet. But I think this one has a really, really good chance of hitting. So we got a 4-legger, and let's get to it. So I think top 10 finisher, 2 of them. I got 2 JGR cars. I actually have 3 in the entire 4-legger, but 2 of them getting just the top 10, any place in there. We got Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs. Chase Briscoe is a past Phoenix winner, and I believe he's always showing speed at those types of flat tracks, and he's had a rough start to the year, so got to get it going somewhere, right? Ty Gibbs. It's like that's the one that's out on a limb. I was going to go with Alex Bowman, but with the unfortunate news of the vertigo, obviously I can't put him anymore, but hopefully he gets better soon. But Ty Gibbs is a very interesting one. He had a really solid car at COTA, and sometimes I feel like in the beginning of the year he can get going really quickly, and then towards the middle of the year is when he drops off. So I think he can have a solid weekend, and top 10, really decent odds for a top 10 driving a JGR car. I think it's pretty decent odds. It's at plus 300, so I like it. But all right, two more. We got a top 5 and a race winner. Top 5 is the other JGR car. I think Christopher Bell. We know how he is on these flat tracks. Come on. Christopher Bell. New Hampshire, Phoenix. I'm only naming those two because that's all you need to prove Christopher Bell, how good he is at the flat tracks. Just those two tracks, he past winners on both, dominates in New Hampshire. It's self-explanatory with that one. But race winner, non-biased. Let's look at the average finish since 2021. They race at Phoenix twice a year. 1 DNF since 2021. 1 finish outside the top 10 since 2021. Average finish of 5.8. Why not pick plus 500 odds in Ryan Blaney? Why not? I mean, come on. Like, it's not... He is the favorite to win this weekend. But it's... I mean, to add it on, it's just... Him and Bell are the same. They're, like, really good at these flat racetracks, and they... just bring the speed every single year, no matter what. Like, even if they're having struggling weeks, they could just come into the flat tracks and just dominate. So, Jonathan Hassler, the way he hooks up that 12 car, I like it. I like everything about it. I like this whole parlay. So, if you're with me, the $5 does win you a little less. I mean, it still wins you a couple hundred. It's not like an insane amount. But, I mean, listen, got to do what you got to do, right? A couple hundred's better than nothing, right? So, here are the odds. And, try it out. Let me know how you do.
All right. Thanks, Anthony, for the bets there. Appreciate it. And if anyone is tailing his bets, make sure you let us know on Twitter, everywhere. Just kind of comment on the video if you're tailing, and hopefully you guys are making some money. I think so far it's been a little bit of a struggle. Anthony's been throwing those parlays in there. So hopefully we get one to hit, because, I mean, he's laying down some big money hitters, like $5 for almost 1,700 last week at COTA. So make sure you're keeping up with that, and hopefully we'll get on the board and into the green. So just some final thoughts going into Phoenix. Obviously, as a Denny Hamlin fan, Phoenix is still a sore subject when it comes to a racetrack, and Hamlin said it himself. He's, there's no sugarcoating it. It sucks having to go back to that track that kind of ripped one away from him. The strongest chance he's ever had at a championship just kind of was right there at the cusp. And so he's going to hope to go back there, maybe avenge that. If it's like the universe is speaking, he'll win this weekend. Back in 2019, when Homestead was a championship race, he won Phoenix. And then in 2020, when those two tracks swapped, he won Homestead. So it seems only fitting for Hamlin to go out there and possibly win here at Phoenix.
Yeah, it'll be you watch Hamlin this week and wonder if there's like he just seems to have that knack of, like, when it's time, or he like almost is in a situation where he's, it's personal to him. He just seems to rise and take it up that next notch. So yeah, I could see Hamlin for sure being the guy that goes out and leads, 80% of the race, wins both stages, wins the race. Or it could go very opposite for that too. So, but first race with the upgraded horsepower, like we kind of talked about early on in the episode. So that'll be fun to watch, kind of give us a preview of what to expect from some of these shorter tracks this year with the upgraded horsepower. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the cars respond to that this weekend.
Any final thoughts, Wes?
No, just looking forward. I feel like this stretch right here is just it really gets into the meat of the season, and we start painting the picture for the chase. And I feel like we're gonna see some guys last year that will show up better than before, and other guys may not show up the same. And it's gonna be just kind of just the start of the painting of what's gonna be a great season. So. And I don't mind Phoenix. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I hope we get some good, and I know this is kind of up for debate. I hope we get some green flag runs just to let the strategy kind of play out, because Phoenix is a good strategy race. Uh, Restarts can be exciting, but I like what Phoenix can do with strategy and just seeing who can be the best. It's a good track for just seeing who can execute and deliver throughout the course of a whole race. So it should be good in that regard if it happens.
And Sam, any final thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to Phoenix. I once again think this is kind of one of those scheduling things. This is the second year in a row that this has kind of been how they've scheduled these races. And it does feel like it kind of adds a lull after some really exciting racing to start the season. And then you get a road course where, you have to be really locked in. And then you go to Phoenix where you have to be locked in as a fan and kind of understand the strategy of everything before you get to another mile and a half after that in Las Vegas. So I do think it's not necessarily the best scheduling in trying to bring in, a casual viewer. I mentioned that as a part of our last episode that we did on the recap of Coda. But yeah, I think this could be scheduled a little better to where you're kind of mixing in and out the quote unquote boring tracks. As a diehard fan, we kind of try and get ourselves locked into everything, and with the podcast, it helps us stay locked in and have a reason to really be locked in. But for the more casual viewer, for someone you're trying to draw in, this is kind of one of those. It's like a 2 week stretch where you're gonna turn it on and go to sleep in the middle of the race and then wake up at the end and oh look, Ryan Blaney won or Christopher Bell won, like awesome, but they're not really that locked in, and then you kind of lose them after 2 straight weeks of that to before you get to a really good one in Las Vegas. So it's just interesting with the how NASCAR decided to schedule these, but that's pretty much my only final thoughts. I am looking forward to Phoenix. I think it'll be a good race for what Phoenix is. And I always pretty much enjoy Phoenix. Obviously, I've got the hat on. I've got the flag back there. I'm a pretty good fan of Phoenix, at least in the fall. So, looking forward to this weekend.
Absolutely. So, before we sign off here, make sure if you're listening, watching, you're subscribed on YouTube. If you're listening, make sure you have us followed on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and on Facebook. We're approaching 7,500 followers. Really appreciate everyone following there and interacting over there. On Instagram, Twitter, also big presence there on Twitter. Want to get to that 700 follower mark here pretty soon as well. We've got some good content coming out on Twitter daily, whether it's from me, Sam, Steve, or Wes. We're all kind of putting in the work there as well. TikTok as well, even though it was a little down this week for some reason. Steve tried putting out a video and it was not going up immediately, but got posted elsewhere. So make sure you're doing that. So for Wes, Sam, Steve, Dom, and we will talk to you after Phoenix.